All right, we're going to have a bit more of a positive video this week compared to last week. Clemson rebounds after the loss to Notre Dame with a 31-16 win over Louisville at home in front of Clemson faithful in the purple jerseys. It was an epic win for the Tigers, who really needed to have something like this after losing to Notre Dame and struggling so much against Syracuse. And at first, I want to start off with DJ Uiagalelei, who had two bad throws, I want to say early in the game, but then really got in rhythm on that first drive, ends up scoring the opening touchdown, and played a pretty good game today. I know only 19 for 27 for 185 yards and a touchdown. It's not a great stat line, but I certainly think if you look down and watch the tape, it's much better than what we've seen in the past 2 weeks. And I think the play calling is better too. So overall, I feel much better about Clemson's offense after the Notre Dame and Syracuse games. Played really well today in comparison to those two matchups. And the run game was dominant as well. Phil Moffitt broke at least two runs that I can think about that were pretty long, including that touchdown in the fourth quarter. Will Shipley had another good game. I know he had the two fumbles. He only lost one of them. And fumbling has been an issue this year for Clemson. I am a little bit worried about that with our offense. Ball security has not really been something that we've done well this year, and particularly DJ Uiagalelei. But Shipley's had some issues as well. I will say it did seem like he hurt his left hand, I believe, in pass protection early in that game. Maybe that could factor into why he fumbled twice. I'm not entirely sure, and maybe we'll find out later. But overall, a great game on the ground for our guys. 45 carries for 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. 19 for 97 for Will Shipley. 10 for 106 for Phil Moffitt. Those two guys are just really good running backs. I'm really excited to see what they'll do moving forward with those two players, because I am excited to see how they will change up this offense in the offseason, because I do think there will be changes after this year. I'm just curious to see if it becomes more running back centric or how they will alter everything in the offseason. In terms of our receivers, the only one who had a massive impact, I would say, would be Antonio Williams. 10 receptions for 83 yards and a touchdown. He's probably the best wide receiver we have right now. I know some people will bring up Bo Collins. Guys like E.J. Williams, Joseph McGod never really grew into the stars we were hoping they would be. And the reason why I think Antonio Williams is the best receiver on our roster right now is because he's the only guy who can consistently create separation and just make throws a lot easier for DJU. He's able to break away from defenders. He's able to out-athlete guys in space, and Clemson doesn't have too many of those guys right now. They have a lot of bigger dudes who just don't separate very much. And in the past, it's been all right, like guys like Trevor Lawrence at the helm. But right now, Clemson needs receivers who maybe aren't 6'4", 6'5". They need some guys who are a little bit smaller, a little bit more athletic, who can shake guys and create 5 or 6 yards of separation on routes consistently and create open throws that are not contested. And that's something big, I think, going forward that recruiting-wise we need to look into as we try to remold the offense. So I think the offense, like I said, pretty good game today. I wouldn't say it was a great game, but I feel much better about our offense right now compared to where we were in the past 2 weeks. Obviously, DJ Uiagalelei playing the way he did is a very positive thing, not only for him, but I think also for Clemson fans to look at. Hopefully, this is a pretty good confidence builder for him moving forward, so we don't see more of the Syracuse, Notre Dame type games. Clemson did put Cade Klubnik in for a series, and then Louisville got the ball back eventually after I think it was a Shipley fumble, and then DJ came back onto the field. It's so weird with how they're trying to involve Cade Klubnik in this offense. Right now, I think we're not blowing teams out enough to involve him that frequently and give him reps late in games. I know we tried to do that earlier this season, and the team came back. I forget who it was. It might have been Louisiana Tech. Came back and we ended up having to pull him and put DJ back in. Overall, at this point, I think just we're going to try to win the ACC championship. That's our goal right now. I think DJ gives us the best chance to do that. Cade's a bit of an unknown. He's very inexperienced. He doesn't really have much in-game experience. And even when he's on the field, he's not made a lot of plays. That game against Georgia Tech, the season opener, was still his best one today by far. So I think really going forward, we should limit Cade's involvement in the offense, because it's kind of weird putting him out there, pulling him back off the field, putting DJU back on. It's pretty strange. So I don't know. I don't think it's been handled that well this season, having the two quarterbacks like that in the room. I don't think we've handled it that well. Hopefully we can resolve some of that moving forward. But let's move away from that. No more of that. Let's talk about the defense, because the defense was phenomenal today, especially the defensive front. KJ Henry, every time I looked up, he was getting pressure on the Louisville quarterbacks, making them throw the ball earlier than they wanted to. I felt like Miles Murphy got in there for a play or two. Brian Brzee flashed early in the game. Tyler Davis and Rick Roro were a little more quiet today. But again, you don't necessarily have to be very loud when you have guys like Brzee and Murphy and KJ Henry making plays. And also Barrett Carr. Barrett Carr was amazing today. I don't think we had Trenton Simpson for this game, so Carr needed to step up, and boy, did he ever. 8 total tackles, 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, a pass defense, and an interception. So, a dominant performance for Barrett Carter, Agent Zero. This is the dude we love right now on our defense, and I think he might actually be better long-term than even Trenton Simpson. So, an epic player to have on our defense. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr. never played at the second level, but I think there's a lot of potential for going forward to be an NFL player even, considering how he's played this season, how he's developed this year throughout the course of the season. Trotter had 12 tackles today, half tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hurries. He looked really good. He was all over the field as well. I do feel pretty comfortable with some of our players we have, some of our young guys on the defense. Makuba is another one who's going to be back next year. 5 tackles today, a pass defense. I think that pass breakup was late in the fourth, either in the fourth quarter or late in the third quarter. And it was terrific. It was a terrific play by him. A very versatile defensive back. So I feel good with some of the young pieces we have on this defense going forward, even after guys like Brzee, Tyler Davis, Miles Murphy, Aurora, and KJ Henry go to the NFL. We're still going to have some young pieces on our defense who are going to be future NFL players. And like I said, they were all balling out today. It was a great performance by defense, especially after getting pushed around last week against Notre Dame. This unit came out and played very well. I think defensively, we had some really good defensive calls, especially once Malik Cunningham went down with the injury and was out for the second half. Even when he was in the game, actually, I felt we did a good job mixing up our pressures, mixing up some concepts and blitzes and stunts we were running, and just kind of changing things up, throwing different looks at the Louisville offensive line. And Brock Doman really didn't have a shot in the second half. We were over him. We were all over him throughout the entire second half. That was good. He looked really flustered. I think our defense did a really good job, and the play calling for our defense was much, much better than what it was last week. And I think we managed, we learned a little bit, I think, in terms of how to handle offensive lines and our guys up front, how to deal with what some of the concepts, some of the stuff Notre Dame was throwing us last week. And we can take that and work it into our players moving forward. Will be a better defense long term. But yeah, great week for the defense. Solid week for the offense. It wasn't great, but it was kind of what they needed to be a confidence builder and a show they can put together confident drives, essentially, and string together multiple big plays. When we play a team like North Carolina, it's got a fairly explosive offense under quarterback Drake May. We're going to need to have an offense like this. Obviously, you would like to have the one that we had against Wake Forest. I just don't think it's going to happen. But if we have an offense like this and defense like we had today, we will have a good shot to win the ACC championship game. So this is more of an ideal situation for us in terms of what we can look to have moving forward. And even total yards, Clemson 439 total yards to 400 for Louisville. We didn't really beat them in total yardage. We did crush them in first downs. Time of possession fairly evenly split, 28 minutes for Louisville, 31.5 for Clemson. I think it really just came down to our defense being dominant and forcing them to punt the ball away or turn it over downs quite frequently, as opposed to us on offense having a little bit of a case of the fumbles and kind of giving a little bit extra opportunities. I'm glad that our defense didn't get worn down throughout the course of the game. They still played with a fairly high amount of energy throughout the entire fourth quarter, which is something that I've been concerned with in the past because our offense has a lot of 3-and-outs at times. Although today we generally didn't go 3-and-out very often. But yeah, I think that's about going to wrap it up for this breakdown of the game. 31-16 win over Louisville. We're advancing to 9-1 in the season. Already locked in a spot in the conference championship. Again, I wouldn't expect the college football playoff, and that's far out of our reach at this point. But it's not entirely out of the picture. But I'm certainly not going to bet on it. But until next week, guys, have a good one.